So good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Francesca, for the introduction. It is really nice to see so many known people here, old friends and new colleagues. I would like to more or less share my experience with you. This is a presentation that it's more from the user's perspective. Before I start my presentation, I would like to say two things about myself. I am Maria Perifanou, and I work at the University of Macedonia in Thessaloniki, Greece, and I work for the SMILE Lab, Smart Mobile Interactive Learning Environments Lab. This is our university, and you can see some pictures also from Thessaloniki. It is in the northern part of Greece. And what we do in our lab is that we work on different research projects that are related to technology-enhanced learning and computer-assisted language learning. We do development and also training courses. At the university, I teach Italian also, but I also collaborating with two other Greek universities, the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki and the Hellenic Open University, where I teach Italian language, but also computer-assisted language learning courses and training courses to language teachers related to technology. So it is, I have many things to do lately and everything online. But it's a pleasure because I have contact with all the students and people. So time that it is hard passes, flows a little bit better. I will, a few things about the presentation. First of all, I would like to say why we have done this with my colleague Anastasios Economides, who is the director of the SMILE Lab. We thought that it would be nice to search on a problem that I was facing because of COVID, of course. I wanted to find online material for my language courses. So what I have done is to search, and this was one of the problems that I had not only me, but also many other colleagues, because as you know, creating generally teaching material, it takes a long time. And if you want also to have a good quality material, it takes even longer. So those repositories, open repositories for open educational resources would be an ideal, let's say, solution for us. So this is what we did. We searched for well-known repositories, and this is what I will present. And what did we find? And this is what I will present to you. So first of all, what it is, this is what we had in our, what we know. It is that open educational resources are learning, teaching, and research materials in any format and medium that reside in the public domain and are under copyright, that have been released under an open license that permits no cost, access, use, adaptation, and redistribution by others. So this is what UNESCO, this is one definition by UNESCO. But how easy was to find, and this openness, is this really there? So we have explored a little bit previous studies to see what other colleagues have done in this area. More or less also, we try to find some, let's say, quality criteria to see also the methodology, to come up with a methodology how we're going to explore. First of all, we came up with this list among many other repositories that we have researched, and we came up with this. We thought that this is a nice list because we have found more or less the OER, the resources that, let's say, were in line with the criteria that we have, let's say, selected. So what we have searched was, first one, OER regarding how to learn Italian. So it was like pure, let's say, material, or courses, or books, or exercises, whatever has to do with learning this Italian language. And also one other thing that it is also very useful now, because of COVID, we have this, let's say, a bigger need to make also our our courses even more, let's say, fun. Let's say have this kind of breaks in between, so students to have some good time and relax also. So we were also said that it would be nice to find some open educational games to see if there are any. I usually create my own, but I wanted also to find if there are any. So if you see here, these are the results of our research. You see several numbers. As you see, Merlot, for example, this open this repository. Okay, it was we can say more how can I say rich. We found more resources there, but what we can say is that generally speaking, we cannot. This is, let's say, the results that we have, the quantitative results, but qualitative results show that the quantity doesn't go in line with quality. So even though we had many resources in Merlot, for example, this doesn't mean that they were very good resources or were working. For example, there could be also broken links, or were just resources that there were some links that they brought you to another, let's say, database. But there was not what we say, for example, COEL had only 3 open educational resources, but were of high quality because they also assess everything. Everything is assessed by experts before. Open Textbook Library, for example, has a very nice and high quality collection of open educational resources. Open Learn also from the Open University. So yes and no, there are, but they're not so good. So this is the first and main finding, let's say. So here we present some things like the main results. It is difficult to search, for example, between all these thousands of different, let's say, repositories. So even the first part that was just to select which of those were, let's say, of better quality, it was difficult. Another problem that we faced was also the different structure that each of these repositories had, and also different metadata. So generally speaking, they use different menus. They have different structures. The menus are basically only in English. Also, the search engines, they didn't work quite well. The metadata also many times was where the information was inaccurate or incomplete. Some of those are not really open. This is why I was saying that we were also exploring, are they open? Even though they were in an open repository, they were not always open and free. And some OERs, as I said before, they didn't work. So they had problems. So some suggestions. Also, I need to say here that a problem that exists is also that there is a difference in policies. They're not horizontal policies generally in open educational resources in Europe or worldwide. So in every case, we see that they define things different. They structure repositories in a different way. They let's say, translate in a way different things, in a different way what openness is, for example, or what open educational resource is. So what we say and we suggest is to use an open common standard to describe the structure of open repositories for open educational resources. Use an open common standard to describe OER metadata, enable search and browsing in many languages, because as we said before, it is only in English. Motivate, support, and train users on OER. This is something that I can tell you from my experience. It's something that it's a big problem, because as I see colleagues, they don't know many things about OER, how to use, where to search, how to use all these licenses, or even if they create their own material, they don't know in what ways to share this material. For example, there are tools where you can use OER Common. For example, there are desktop tools that are offered. There are many different, let's say, tools that you can use, and in a way they can facilitate you in the process of doing this. But also another thing that it is important is also to show also to our students how to use the OER. So this is one thing that it is important. It is not only teachers to know where to find material, how to use it, but also students, because our students create also their own material, they prepare presentations, they are interacting generally during the courses, and not just, listening to a lecture. Nowadays, we try to have these interactive courses. So it's important also to show to our students also how to use all these resources. Create communities of OER users. And I'm going there because when you are in a community, you can exchange experiences. And also another thing that it's really important for us as language teachers, or as teachers generally speaking, is to share practices. So open educational practices. In fact, it is when I use a resource in my course, and then I can modify, have my own, let's say, experience using this material. And then let's say that I can share also my experience, and this is in my practice. So these kind of communities are really important for that. Also, apply quality assurance procedures is really important, because as you know, finding quality OERs is really, really difficult. And for me, it's secure when I go to when I visit a repository that I know that it's of high quality, that like COEL, for example, it is from it's an American open repository. And when
Maria, just a couple of minutes more.
Yes, I have only 2 slides more.
Okay, great.
So more or less, this is one thing that it is really important to know, that there is some quality assurance. Also, periodically review curated OER. So as I said, some of these materials that we found are not updated. So are outdated, in fact. So it is also good to know that we can find updated, let's say, material. So the conclusions now, there are thousands, as we said, repositories for OER worldwide. There is no metadata description of language skills, also something that it's really, really important in my case. So we can search for specific material that will help us enhance and foster specific language skills. It is difficult, as I said before, to find quality OER, and there are many results, but not so useful OER. And also the things that I just said before. And the most important thing is also to cooperate and adapt standards for the repository structure and the OER metadata that are common among other repositories. exchange links and good practices, as I said before, in communities, in specific communities. And I think that this is all. And I thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions,
thank you very much. Thank you very much, Maria. Quite interesting. So if there is any question from the audience, I encourage you to take the microphone or write it in the chat as you like. I see Carlo is raising his hand, so please, Carlo, go ahead.
Buongiorno.
Hi, Maria. I just would like to know if by chance you have compared the search that we have done on OER with, for example, the result that you can obtain by looking into YouTube, or, for example, by searching with the Google, because nowadays you can find more or less everything on the web. Okay, so you'll say that basically you didn't find very high quality in OER. So the question is, once that you have the searching engine of very large repository like one that I mentioned, doesn't it make sense to have OER more or less? And did you compare it, the different approach to find out materials?
For this research, no, but I do it every day. So I can tell you, for example, I have a list of websites that I know that they have quality material. It is not under this name of open educational resources in a repository, but for me, it would be better to be able to go to the repository, use all this metadata and find it, because I know all this because I'm searching in Google, I'm searching, I talk with colleagues, and more or less between us, we have identified some materials that is offered by organizations, by some universities, some language institutions, for example, where we can have access, but those are not searchable in open educational resources repositories. So this is why we say that in a way it would be nice to know that there is a place where we can go and find all these things using metadata, and also some feedback about how to use them. So I mean the practice, about the practice, because there where we where we go and find this material, most of the time there is not also this feedback from the users. So this is also a problem for us. But yes, very good question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maria.